Bitcoin's bridged over, chain will be freeze. And yeah, you can see my reaction. I wanted to tie this in because there's been so much have happened, FUD, real, otherwise, over the last few months. Everyone's sack bags are way down. I mean, it's just, it's bottom, rock bottom. Some may say rock bottom prices. Who knows? Maybe we got another leg down. Maybe it's the bottom. Who knows? But if you're sitting there, you sack for PulseChain, sack for PulseX, sack for, Power City or other projects too. Not that they've, came out to go down or go up yet, but how is it that you kind of, how do you get out of this? Well, everything is down. Why did I do this kind of mentality? Like, is it other than, we can all say zoom out. We can all say it takes time, delayed gratification, all the values that we really hold dear in the ecosystem. But for the people who've just been here maybe a year or two and haven't really bought into the ethos, how is it? Do they just need to play with meme coins to stay in? Like, is it? How do we get them to?
I said this earlier, right? The community is still here. All the people, you can see them all on Twitter. You can see all the wallets interacting with things on chain. There is literally just more sell pressure lately than there is buy pressure. Now, I don't think anybody should be surprised. So when let's face reality here. The market cap of Pulse, when all the tokens found their wallets, right? You look at where all those tokens are, and you see some whales all the way down to minnows, and it was pretty obvious when you compare the quantity of tokens out there with the available exit liquidity that was placed in PulseX or bridged over to PulseChain. There was a huge deviation from that, right? So you had like billions and billions of dollars that people had, and just millions, small millions available in the liquidity pool. I believe that when that deviation is huge, you're always going to have more sell pressure. When that deviation is pretty close or gets closer, then you're going to have more buy pressure, in my opinion. Right? You literally had a market cap that just launched way too high, and you were always going to have sellers. Now, whether there was FUD or not, there was selling that was happening before the SEC debacle with Richard, and there would have still been selling even if that never happened, because you have to, like some people describe it as, you have to wash people out, and I believe that's true. You have too many coins out there that people are just sitting on, waiting to take profits, and it just slowly happens day by day where people are dumping out of them.
I look at it, you need a macro view. If you're in crypto personally, right? I'm a hodler. I am not a day trader. I'm not a meme coin chaser, and that's just me, right? If you do that, you do you and knock yourself out. But if you take a macro long-term view, right? Imagine that in 2017, man, you heard all the hype about Bitcoin. You're like, darn it, I'm going to pull the trigger, and you bought some for that top price, and it just dropped the next day from there like a stone, and you sold. Okay, so you acted out of emotion. But if you had paid attention and done your research and looked at the trends and understood the 4-year cycle, right? And you look at how these things worked out, if you would have held to the next cycle, you would have still multiplied your money long term, right? Eventually. Now, there's no guarantees whatsoever. No one's saying that if you hodl, you will always make money. That's not the point here. But the point is, if you take a macro view, right, these relatively shorter term trends, right? Remember, PulseChain launched in May. So we are 5 months away. I mean, it's still a very, very young blockchain. So if you look at this with such a micro view, then you're missing the macro patterns that have yet to really emerge. So, obviously you do you, and your own financial situation. So everyone has to do what's best for them, right? So no judgment there whatsoever if you're selling or if you're holding. But my point is, if you look at this from a broader perspective, we haven't even seen the patterns really start to form on where PulseChain is going and what it can do long term. When I say long term, I'm thinking 4, 5, 6, 8 years, right? And then you start seeing these macro patterns, especially compared to where Bitcoin and Ethereum and other chains are going, every major cycle, right? So
you want to hear a crazy, crazy story? So check this out. I believe that for every person that makes money in crypto, there's other people that have either left their money on the table and walked away, or they're still waiting to make money. Okay. Let me give you an example. A dining room table is crypto. Okay. The dining room table is the crypto sphere. All right. Now you have to on-ramp some money into the crypto sphere. Okay. So I bring $10 and I drop it on the table. I've on-ramped $10, turned it into USDC or whatever else, and I left that money. I dropped that money on the table. RHMax, you do the same thing. You decide you're going to on-ramp into crypto into this dining room table. You bring $10 in and you drop it on the table. And LV brings $10 in and he drops it on the table. And I go ahead and I take $20 off of the table and I say, I'm out. Okay. And I go away. You two are now left with only $10 between the two of you. There's only $5 available dollars. Now the question is, are other people going to come in and play? So the only available extractable real dollars is money that's brought into exchanges, swapped for whatever crypto. People can go and play and do whatever they want on the dexes. At the end of the day, the only thing available is what people swap for, send to an exchange, and what the exchange has available to give back to you, and then send money to your bank account. When an exchange, so this is how all crypto works, by the way. Now, when an exchange such as FTX takes all that value and then runs away with it, billions and billions of dollars, you always see that crypto in general has a mad rush to the door where people go, oh shit, crypto's now overvalued because there's money that's no longer extractable from this big game that we're all playing. And people start dumping out of their tokens as fast as they can. The prices of everything tanks a bit, goes down 10, 12, 15% until it corrects for what's actually available or what people believe is available back at the exchanges. Make sense?
That is an interesting analogy. It's for on the bridged assets too. Is that so? I kind of want to tie it into this. I think a lot of people have anxiety just wondering when the selling is going to stop. Whether it's the macro, whether it's the different indicators we have, volume, liquidity, bridged over assets. Is there simple indicators that you see outside of just being the market cycle changing? Is there indicators that we can see when there's more, we have all the people flying by the table, dropping their money in, feeling secure about it? Like how does the average person even know what the pulse of the ecosystem even is when they just keep seeing the price go down?
We don't. It's too new.
Also, I mean, it's crypto is extremely volatile to begin with, just by definition of being crypto and having the entire crypto market under $1 trillion. Now, you look at a tiny microcosm within that entire crypto market, and you see really the scale of things, right, as you go smaller and smaller and smaller. So typically the way markets work is like water sloshing back and forth between two tanks that have a wall between them, and they just keep getting like sloshed back and forth. And if you look at what's sloshing back and forth is appetite for risk, right? There are some people when markets are really up, right? People are rushing into the market, and there's an appetite for risk. When the markets are going down, there's no appetite for risk, right? So everyone's rushing out. But remember, one person's disaster is another person's potential opportunity. And it's about how each and every individual is reading the market and deciding, are they playing ultra conservative? Are they playing a long-term game? Are they playing a contrarian view or not, right? So, you can say, well, on one hand, you look at the market price and say like, oh my gosh, I had X and now I have a fraction of it. I better get out while I can, right? Or you look at it as like, I had X, okay, but now I have a fraction of it. But if I put in a fraction more, I lower my cost basis so that, when the time comes for the market to kind of bounce back a little bit, I actually have more of an increase in value, and my gain will be impacted by, kind of dollar cost averaging, into the market over time. Right. And a great example of that is if we go back to the 2008 financial crisis, here we see the traditional markets just in a free fall all of a sudden, like overnight. And you hear stories about how retirees were freaking out and yanked all their money out of the markets as it was, in a free fall, and were so conservative that they never put it back in until long after the markets recovered. And what they ended up doing was, yes, they saved themselves maybe from the bottom just a little bit, but they lost all the recovery that would have then multiplied that money in the long run if they would have taken a long-term macro view, right? Because time in the market, more often than not, will beat trying to time the market. And all these adages and little, silly sayings that from traditional markets, they still apply in crypto, right? I mean, because we're just reacting to how, emotional investors are reacting to the market, right? That's what they're doing. So crypto is just amplified, one, because the market is smaller, right? And two, because it's primarily retail investors and not institutional investors. And why is that a big deal? Well, retail investors are historically emotional investors. You see a number go down, you're freaking out. And right, how many memes are out there that chart starts going up, you rush to buy, and the second you hit buy, it starts diving, right? And then you sell out of fear, and then it starts to go up again, so you buy again, and then it dives, right? And there's memes that kind of keep showing that cycle. But that's the human mentality, and we are kind of wired for that. We have to learn how to turn that off. And that's how institutional investors have systems and rules in place of when they invest and how they invest that help normalize these things, and they manage their risks, right? They're taking some of the emotion out of that equation. We as retail investors need to learn that, right? But right now, crypto is an extremely emotional market. I think this is what we're seeing, especially in PulseChain, right? And like I said before, no judging whatsoever. Someone's selling, and that's what they need to do, and that's what they want to do. It's their crypto. They have every right to go do that. We don't have any right to tell someone how to use their own crypto, right? So all these people who are trying to use Twitter and YouTube as a bully pulpit, calling people out for selling and this, that, and the other, it's like no, we don't have any right to tell anybody what to do with their money, but we can try to be smart about what we do with our money and understand what our needs are, and to try to be conscious about our emotional triggers when it comes to money, and find ways for us to take that out and be a little more analytic about it, and know what are our goals, what are we shooting for, what do we want out of this, and then to monitor the markets and to try to look for ways that we can then see, are things turning around, what's going on in the ecosystem, are new protocols coming live, are there new routes coming onto chain, are there things happening here, is my TVL going up, my total value locked across the different dexes, more liquidity, am I seeing more transaction volume? Like, these are all indicators that something is going to be going on, right? When we see these things start going up, then something's happening on chain. And regardless of how many people still might be selling and running for the door, again, that's creating an opportunity for someone else who might see value there. So